So what is a good CTR for Google Ads? And it's a very, very loaded question because no matter who you ask, you'll get a different answer. Okay, and you've probably done your research online, but you're still confused and you just need a direct answer on your campaigns. Well, I'm going to answer that and I'm going to go through real data across 90 days on one of our manager accounts across nearly 100 campaigns, right? And so, but first, I want to go through the conventional like kind of stats that you see online and just quickly explain why it's a load of shit. Okay, because it gives you the false impression of what a good CTR might be. Now, none of these stats that you find online, like this one here from WebFX, they say 3.17%, this one here from Local IQ saying 6.4%, to their credit, they're not telling you that these are good CTRs. They're just telling you, hey, this is a bunch of data we have, and here is the average. Take what you will with that, right? And so as you go through all of these, you're getting a wrong impression on how you are performing across your campaigns, simply because they basically take the average across different niches. So let's say that they take, apparel here, and apparel is 4.89% average CTR across the accounts. They basically take all those accounts and work out the mean or mode or average of the median, I should say, of the entire niche, and basically say, well, if we collect all of that and work out an average, it's 4.89%. But why do you get some of those campaigns doing 20% CTRs and 30% CTRs, right? They're not revealing that. You get some really great CTRs that all of these stats and graphs don't actually tell you what the real world actually looks like, right? And so I'm just going to go, like you can see and research all this stuff yourself. These are just averages, and I'm going to explain why it depends, okay? So if we go through why they're all different, it's simply because it depends on the date range selected. So if you've got 90 days, of course, your CTR from 90 days to 30 versus 30 days is going to look different, okay, or versus 7 days. So that's why CTR can be misleading. If you look at campaign type, if you've got a brand campaign versus a search campaign versus a PMAX, your CTRs are going to be different. Simply because if someone's typing your brand name in exactly, and you've got a brand that's very unique in the name, if they type that in and then see it on the search results page, they're going to click on it, right? They're going to click on that and you're going to get a higher CTR because they're looking for the brand and they're expecting to see it in the ad copy, and that's the first thing they'll click. So you'll get CTRs between 20 to 50% for brand campaigns versus a search campaign, depending if it's low intent or high intent, right? If someone's typing in emergency plumbing near me, it's very high intent, so the CTR will be higher, right? Whereas low intent, it might be, what you're sending people to hire a plumber, right? But you're basically bidding on keywords like what is a plumber? Very, very low intent. Why would someone typing in what is a plumber be interested in hiring a plumber right now? They're not going to be. Low intent. So you're going to have a very low CTR, okay? And then you've got match types, right? So match types, exact versus phrase versus broad, that would tie into low intent versus high intent. So all these factors will change whether or not your CTR is high or CTR is low. It's not about which industry you're in. It can be, but it's like that's the last thing you look at. That's not the first thing you look at. You look at these factors to determine whether or not you're on track for a CTR, like it's high or low. The last one is ad copy. Are you using dynamic keyword insertion, dynamic location insertion? I spelled that wrong. It should be LK. Are you using power words? Are you using numbers? Are you using psychology? Are you being persuasive to win the click? This is a huge factor that most advertisers ignore. They put a little effort into their ad copy thinking that that's the last thing, and the main thing is actually just keywords chosen, the campaign type, the match types, and location, right? False. This is actually number one priority for your click-through rate. So let's go through what I think good CTRs are, and then we'll go into some of my real campaigns, right? So what is a good CTR for Google Ads? I found if you're doing a minimum of 20% or more for brand campaigns, so if this is just you bidding on your exact match brand name. So if my brand name was JRR or JRR Marketing, I would make sure I bid on that as an exact match on this brand campaign, so that any time that someone is trying to find JRR Marketing, I show up nearly every time because I've only got like 1 or 2 keywords bidding on that for JRR Marketing. And I would expect my CTR between 20 to even up to 70% CTR, right? So that would be the CTR that you would kind of expect. If it's 20% or more, you're doing well. If it's under that, then perhaps you've got a brand name that's generic. Like you might have a brand name like Window Tinting Sydney, and that might be your brand name. So of course your CTR will be low because you've got such a generic brand name, right? If you've got a unique brand name, this should be high. Okay, search ads. So BOFU. BOFU means bottom of funnel. So basically, if someone has a very, very high intent that they're looking to buy right now, so if they're like dental services near me, then that is bottom of funnel. They're ready to go. They're finding a provider. And if you're bidding on those kind of keywords like dental services near me, dental clinic near me, best dentist near me, or whatever, and use them as exact match, okay, you should expect to, and then your ads reflect, obviously the keywords you're bidding on, then you should expect a minimum of 10% CTR, right? For that, if you're running these kind of service-based ads. If you've got search ads that are top of funnel, where you're interrupting people and they're not really interested and you're trying to like persuade them into clicking on your ad to buy a service, then you'll try to aim for a 5% CTR, okay, or more. Of course, more. These are all like minimum benchmarks. If you've got performance max for e-commerce, the reason why this is actually a good number is simply because of volume. Normally with e-commerce, you're kind of persuading people to buy a product, right? And so you could reach hundreds or millions of people and get millions and millions of impressions. So 0.5% out of millions and millions of impressions is actually quite decent CTR sometimes. Whereas if you're running a PMAX for services, you'd expect to have at least a 5% or more CTR for PMAX there. Simply, I don't know why this is. I'll look up a better answer for this, but this is what I've found. And you'll see this probably later as I go through some of the campaigns. If you're in a style of business like emergency services where the intent is super high, as I said, like an emergency plumber or mobile tire repair near me or whatever, and it's emergency, it's 24/7 around the clock, you'd expect something like this for your CTR. Okay, I've just found like this or higher is a normal CTR for that. If you're running dynamic search ads, like a dynamic search ad group, I should say, inside of one of your campaigns for your search, then I normally find 10% is a benchmark that we just minimum, like that's a minimum. Okay, and so I'm just going to go through now some of the live data that we have just to show you what it looks like in real life. And we might just go into an account here. I just want to see that we're filtering to, let's say, 90 days so that we've got like, I can show you a true average over a 90-day period. If I did a 7-day period or something, 30-day period, it won't really give you the correct CTR numbers, right? The true average on a long time horizon. But again, it really just depends on the timeline, right? As we covered in the dates. So let's go through it. So this brand campaign, I already know straight away that either we're bidding on the wrong keywords, it's less than 20%. So we're either bidding on the wrong keywords or the brand name is generic. Okay, those are the two reasons why I'd probably be under the benchmark. If we go to this brand campaign over 90 days, it is over 20%, so that is good. That's on par with what we need. This is a service-based business. Don't know what they sell, but based on the naming convention, but they're at 12.64%, so that's above 10%, so that is good. So I would say that that's a bottom of funnel kind of campaign. We've got an e-commerce store selling different baby products for toddlers. They're reaching over 200,000 people in 90 days and 0.7. So that is good. That's just over what we need as a minimum. These guys are selling an app, like app downloads. They're around 4. I didn't cover that in the minimums because we don't do a lot of app campaigns, but they're around 4%. If we go over to here, we've got, I think there's a beauty clinic, and that's a performance max, and so that's 2%. It's not bad, like it's under 5%, but it's not good either. It depends on the sales. You'd have to compare this to the conversion value of what you're bringing in, because the CTR doesn't tell you how profitable this is. If we go through a fencing company, they're nearly at 10%, so I would pass that. That's still good. Like I usually tell people it's a minimum of 8 to 9%, depends on how I feel in the day, depends on the client, all that kind of stuff. If we go through this, so this is like these guys sell like lawn care and stuff, and they're at 1.23%. They've reached over 1 million people for those impressions, so you got to do the math there. That's a lot of impressions. So that's why the CTR would be low, is because they're reaching so many people, similar to e-commerce numbers right there. Let's go through more interesting ones. These guys sell like resume writing and all that kind of stuff, and they're at 8.61%. That's actually quite decent. It's not 10%, but still good. A buy and sell website, so they sell a buy and sell bulk products, and it's over 10%, so that is good. Fillers, so this is cosmetic clinic, so this is 8%. Still, that's not bad. If we go through the rest of it, so lawn care, air duct cleaning, etc., so 5%, 5%. Not bad. It could be better. It's over a 90-day period. So if I select that and say like it's 30 days, I wonder if that will change those numbers. So if I'm in the same spot, yeah, if you look at 30 days, 3%, 10%, 4%, see how the date range can fuck up your entire perspective on what you think a good CTR is. Okay, and then so if we keep going through, yeah, you'll just see different averages, like a dental clinic, 6.8%, and the same dental clinic in a different area is 2%. Both performance max. So go figure. Like the location matters, okay? Which I should have added in my list on this whiteboard here about location, right? So we can add this here. Location is a huge one. Okay, let's go back. So Subscriptions, 7.5%. More subscriptions business, they're doing really well with that search campaign at 28%. A DSA, so DSA, oh, that's the brand name, right? Don't get confused with dynamic search ads. So they're above the 5% mark, okay? What are the high ones? So 20% brands, so the brands are going to be high. Don't take credit for brands being so high as a CTR. Anyway, I could like blabber on like so much on this video anyway. I'm not going to go through that, but this is what you can see in real time. We already know that the numbers to look for are 20% or more for search campaigns. Try to aim for 10% or more for bottom of funnel search. Try to aim for 5% or more for top of funnel search. Performance max ecom. Try to hit 3%, but you're not going to if you've got high impressions. So remember that. Your search for performance max, try to aim for 5%. Emergency, you know, you're going to hit those kind of numbers without trying sometimes. And dynamic search ads, depending on what you're selling, try to aim for 10% or more. So that is everything. I hope that gave you a lot more context. Try not to focus on the industry you're in. Try to focus on the intent of the people you're trying to intercept and where they are on their journey. That is how you determine if you're on a good CTR path. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this video or you've got any questions, leave comments below, right? Because I'll answer them. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.